My name is David. For 15 years, I believed I had a near-perfect marriage with my wife, Claire. We weren't the flashy couple. Our happiness was built on a foundation of quiet understanding, shared jokes over morning coffee, and the comfortable silence that only comes from truly knowing another person. She was my best friend, my confidant, the steady rhythm to my sometimes chaotic life. I trusted her implicitly. That trust was the bedrock of everything we had, and when it finally shattered, it nearly destroyed me. It all started on a rainy Tuesday evening. I was in my home office, finishing up some work, when Claire walked in. She had that look on her face, a peculiar blend of excitement and nervousness I couldn't quite decipher. "Hey you," she said, leaning against the doorframe. "Sarah is having a little get-together this Friday, just a girls' night. Probably be pretty low-key." Sarah. The name alone sent a faint, familiar ripple of unease through me. Sarah wasn't just Claire's best friend. She was a vortex of drama and questionable life choices. Over the years, I'd watched her pull Claire into situations that left me baffled. Late-night clubbing when we were supposed to be saving for a house, a sudden, ill-advised trip to Vegas, countless crises that required Claire's immediate and total attention. I'd learned to tolerate her for Claire's sake, but I never liked the influence she had. "Sarah's parties are never low-key, Claire," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "You remember the last one? You came home at 4 a.m. with a fake tattoo and no memory of how you got it?" She waved a dismissive hand, but I saw the way her eyes didn't quite meet mine. "It was years ago, David. We're adults now. It's literally just going to be wine, some apps, and complaining about our jobs. Nothing crazy." Something in her delivery felt off. It was too casual, too rehearsed. "If it's so low-key, why do you need to go? Can't you just have a quiet night in?" Her smile tightened at the edges. "Because she's my friend and she asked me. I don't get to see her much anymore. Is it a crime to want to spend time with my friends?" And there it was, the subtle shift, turning my reasonable concern into an attack on her freedom. I knew this dance. Pushing further would only lead to an argument about me being controlling or not trusting her. So I did what I always did. I swallowed my unease and let it go. "No, of course not. Have fun." Friday night, Claire spent an inordinate amount of time getting ready. This wasn't her usual girls' night preparation. She emerged from our bedroom wearing a dress I'd never seen before, a sleek, dark blue number that hugged her curves, and a pair of heels that seemed better suited for a romantic date than a casual night with friends. She even spritzed on the expensive perfume I'd bought her for our anniversary, the one she usually saved for special occasions. "You look incredible," I said, and I meant it. A part of me hoped my admiration would bring back the familiar, warm glint in her eye. "Thanks," she replied, her attention already on her phone as she tapped out a message. The response was perfunctory, distant. "Don't wait up, okay? It might run late." The words landed with a thud in my stomach. Claire never said that. She was always the first to want to come home, to curl up on the couch and tell me about the mundane gossip of the evening. This was different. The door clicked shut behind her and the house fell into a silence that felt heavy and accusatory. I tried to distract myself, but my mind was a relentless engine of doubt. I checked my phone compulsively, half expecting a silly selfie of her and Sarah, a text complaining about the music, anything to prove my instincts wrong. Nothing came. By 1 a.m., the knot of anxiety in my chest had tightened into a hard ball of fear. I called her. It rang twice and went straight to voicemail. I tried Sarah. The phone rang 4 times before she picked up, her voice fuzzy like I'd woken her. "David, everything okay?" "Is Claire still with you?" I asked, trying to sound calm. A beat of silence. Too long of a beat. No, she left ages ago. Said she was heading home. Is she not there?" "No, she's not," I said, my voice hardening. "She left ages ago. What time?" "I don't know, around midnight? Maybe a little after? Look, I'm sure she's fine. Maybe she just needed some air." Sarah's tone was dismissive, laced with a false nonchalance that set my teeth on edge.
I ended the call and stared at my phone in the dark living room. Every instinct, every cell in my body was screaming that something was terribly wrong. This wasn't a case of a dead phone battery or a spontaneous decision to get air. This was a pattern, a lie. I spent a sleepless night staring at the ceiling, a montage of every recent oddity playing on a loop in my mind. The new password on her phone, the increased work late nights, the way she'd angle her screen away from me when she texted. Little things I'd brushed off as paranoia now coalesced into a terrifying picture. The next morning, her side of the bed was still cold and untouched. A cold, hard certainty settled over me. This was no longer about worry. It was about investigation. I started with her laptop, password protected. I tried every variation of our anniversary, the dog's name, her mother's birthday. Nothing. Next, I moved to our shared desktop computer. She sometimes left her email signed in there. Bingo. My heart hammered against my ribs as I scanned her inbox. Work emails, shopping receipts, newsletters, nothing out of the ordinary. Then I checked her social media, logged in on the browser. I went to her messages. Most were with her mom, her sister, Sarah, and then I saw a name I didn't recognize. Liam. The messages were sparse, careful, but enough to turn my blood to ice. Liam, 3 days ago. Can't stop thinking about last weekend. Claire, me too, but we have to be careful. Liam, 2 days ago. I know, it's killing me. Friday? Claire, I'll try. Usual place? Usual place. The phrase was a punch to the gut. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was a routine, a secret life. I felt physically sick. I stumbled to the bathroom and dry heaved over the sink, my hands shaking uncontrollably. The woman I'd built a life with, the woman I trusted with my deepest fears and greatest joys, was living a lie. And I was the fool who had believed it. I heard her key in the door around 10 a.m. I was sitting at the kitchen table, a cold cup of coffee in front of me, the evidence burning a hole in my mind. She looked exhausted, her makeup smudged, wearing the same clothes from the night before. She froze when she saw me. "David, you're up early." Her voice was hoarse. "Where were you, Claire?" My voice was flat, dead. I didn't recognize it. "I told you, at Sarah's." She dropped her keys on the counter, avoiding my gaze. "Don't," I said, the word cracking through the kitchen like a whip. "Don't lie to me. I called Sarah. You left around midnight." She flinched. "I went for a drive. I needed to clear my head." "From what?" I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "What exactly is so stressful about your life that you need to disappear all night? Or is it who?" Her face paled. "What is that supposed to mean?" "It means I know, Claire. I know about Liam." The color drained from her face completely. For a moment, she looked utterly terrified. Then her expression shifted. The fear was replaced by a startling defiance. "You went through my things?" "Answer the question," I roared, the sound startling both of us. "Who is he?" "It's not what you think," she shot back, her own voice rising. "Then what is it? Because the messages I found make it pretty damn clear." She hugged her arms around herself, a defensive gesture I knew well. "He's just a friend, David. A friend from the gym. We talk. That's it. You're being paranoid." "A friend?" I laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend? Usual place? Is that what friends do? Do you often spend the night with your friends without telling your husband?" Tears welled in her eyes, but they felt manipulative now, not genuine. "You don't understand. I've been so lonely. You're always working, always distracted. He listens to me. He sees me."
The justification was like gasoline on the fire of my rage. So this is my fault? My hard work to provide for us? My dedication to this life we built is your excuse for cheating? For lying? "I didn't cheat," she screamed, but her eyes darted away, betraying the lie. In that moment, I saw it all with terrifying clarity. The denials, the deflection, the attempt to blame me. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. A series of choices. And she was still choosing to lie. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice dropping to a deadly calm. Her eyes widened in shock. "What? David, no. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix. You broke it. Get out." "Where will I go?" she whispered, the defiance finally crumbling. "I don't care. To Sarah's? To Liam's? Just get out of my house." I turned my back on her and walked out of the kitchen. I heard her break down into sobs, but I felt nothing. A hollow, numb void had opened up where my heart used to be. The grief would come later, in crashing, debilitating waves. But in that moment, there was only a cold, clear certainty. The life I knew was over. The following weeks were a blur of pain and logistical nightmares. Claire moved her things out. The house, once filled with our shared history, now echoed with a silence that was suffocating. Mutual friends took sides. Some offered awkward condolences. Others, who were closer to Sarah's circle, faded away quietly. I threw myself into work, into the gym, into anything that would stop me from thinking. I hired a lawyer. The word divorce felt alien and terrifying, but it was the only path forward. Through a mutual friend, I learned Liam was a recently divorced personal trainer she'd met at her new gym. The cliché of it was its own special insult. The affair had been going on for nearly 6 months. The work late nights, the girls' weekends, it had all been a cover. One afternoon, a large envelope arrived from my lawyer. It contained the initial divorce papers and, attached as evidence, a report from a private investigator I'd hired in a moment of cold fury. There were photos of them together, leaving a mid-range hotel I recognized, the usual place. In one photo, Claire was laughing, her head thrown back in a way I hadn't seen in years. The sight of her joy, her freedom, in the arms of another man was a physical pain. But it was the final page that truly eviscerated me. It was a credit card statement, our joint account. Charges for that same hotel, for expensive dinners at restaurants she'd told me she was going to with Sarah, even for a piece of jewelry, a silver bracelet I'd never seen her wear. She hadn't just betrayed my trust, she'd been funding her double life with our money. The rage that followed was pure and blinding. I drove to her new apartment, a sleek downtown loft she'd apparently rented months ago, another secret. I didn't know what I would do, yell, scream, throw the envelope in her face. She opened the door, her eyes widening in surprise and fear when she saw me. She looked thinner, older. "David?" I didn't let her finish. I thrust the envelope at her. "I know everything, Claire. Everything. The hotel, the dinners, the bracelet. Did you even think about me when you were spending our money on him?" She took the envelope, her hands trembling as she looked at the contents. The color drained from her face. I was going to pay it back," she whispered, a pathetic, weak defense. I stared at her, the woman I had loved for 15 years, and saw a stranger. The illusion was finally completely gone. "The papers are in there too," I said, my voice cold and flat. "Sign them." I turned and walked away. She called my name once, a broken sound, but I didn't look back. There were no more words left to say. The divorce was finalized 8 months later. It was a quiet, clinical affair. We divided assets, closed joint accounts, and went our separate ways. The finality of it was less a dramatic explosion and more a slow, quiet extinguishing of a light. I sold the house. The memories it held were too tainted. I moved into a smaller place near the water. The grief still hits me at unexpected moments. A song on the radio, the smell of her perfume on a stranger, the quiet of a Sunday morning. But the paralyzing pain has gradually been replaced by a dull ache, and then, slowly, by a sense of self-preservation. I heard through the grapevine that things with Liam ended messily a few months after she left. It turns out a relationship built on secrets and lies isn't very stable. I felt no satisfaction in the news, only a profound sadness for the sheer, pointless waste of it all. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a daily choice to not let her betrayal define me. Some days are harder than others, but I'm learning to trust myself again, to listen to my instincts that I ignored for so long. The love I had for Claire was real, but the person she became was not the woman I married. I'm building a new life now, piece by piece. It's a quieter life, a more cautious one, but it's honest. And after living in a world of lies, that honesty, however painful, feels like a solid place to start.